Justin, I understand you recorded your EP in Australia, but you haven't toured the country until now. Why is this?
Yeah, so we were supposed to actually come to Australia in 2020 and play Byron Bay Blues Fest, but then COVID happened. We were like 2 days away from getting on the plane. And then we were actually supposed to do a show or two last year when we came over to make the new record. But John actually ended up having some visa issues and ended up getting to the studio like 4 days late. So we had to cut those shows so we had enough time to finish the record. That was kind of a bummer, but it was fine. I mean, we love Australia. We love Byron Bay. It's freaking beautiful there.
Hmm. So, is this your first? So, before we talk about Blues Fest, I mean, you've opened for some of the biggest names in rock music. What were some of the biggest lessons that you've learned from these experiences?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Um, Definitely learned how to like get your music to translate to a larger audience. Because we started off playing clubs where you're like right in people's faces, and part of the show is like really getting in their face. And when you're on those huge stages, like everybody's so far away from you, so it actually kind of changes the way you perform a little bit. You have to be a little bit grander. It's not, you can't focus on one or two people. It's more like you're playing to 10,000 people. Um, and some of my favorite musicians that I've met have surprisingly a lot of them have been very humble. But so that's a lesson that uh, I've taken away from it. Like there's been one or two that do have the big rock star ego, but I feel like a lot of the ones, especially the ones that have lasted a long time, they don't have this huge ego about the whole thing. And we've been lucky, like a lot of the bands we've opened for, you know, have become fans of our band and some of them friends. So we've had some pretty good experiences. We're lucky in that respect.
Yeah. Speaking of influence, what were some of your growing up? What were some of your formative gig experiences? Were there ever any gigs that you went to and thought, "Shit, I want to be a musician"?
Oh, like did I see somebody else play?
Yeah, no, no,
Um,
it's a different question. You didn't screw up the answer to the original one.
um, hmm. I mean, God, it was really like there wasn't like a big band. It was going to like blues clubs, honestly, when I was like in high school and sitting in at all the jams and like, because I grew up in Los Angeles, so I was very fortunate. Like it's such a music mecca. Like there's always amazing artists just playing little gigs around town. So I've been very fortunate to like see a lot of my heroes play kind of in small settings. And especially getting to hear like certain people jam. Like I'm a big jammer. I love improvisation. So getting to hear that's been cool. Like I saw Slash sit in at so many blues jams around LA growing up. That was always super cool. That especially somebody of his stature that he was still going out and doing that. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But as far as yeah, I mean I saw the Beach Boys when I was pretty young. Um, and I think that show kind of made me want to be a musician. Uh, and I was probably only like 9 or 10 at that point.
Nothing wrong with the Beach Boys, mate. Nice. They uh, if, if you could get this is a cliche question, but it's always fun. If you could get away with anything on the band's rider, what would you ask for and why? I have plenty of
Uh,
inspiration should you need to jog your memory.
well, I asked for weed a lot of the time, and it's shown up a couple of times, which has been pretty awesome.
No, well,
Uh,
legalization would have been great for you guys.
oh yeah, I mean, I live in California. I grew up here, so it's been legal here, since I was a kid. But around the country, like it showed up once in Oklahoma, which is kind of like the Midwest where it's not. And I was like, this is awesome. Uh, so since that started showing up, like that was kind of like my dream as a kid. So I don't know, brown M&Ms.
I want all the rejected Van Halen brown M&Ms
Yes,
in a
exactly.
bowl. I think Iggy Pop asked for a dwarf. I think
A dwarf, really?
here's
Wow,
if you ever
that's
get the
creative.
chance, it's available online. The Iggy and the Stooges writer was obviously
Hmm.
written by some drunk roadie, and it is hilarious. You will love it. The whole thing is gold.
Oh man, I
Um,
gotta check that out.
yeah, man, do it. You've obviously we've talked about some of the people that you've played with. Uh, who do you think are some of the greatest living rock stars that that are still with us, and why do you think that is?
I think Slash is one of them for sure. Like, because he's still got like this enthusiasm and passion for playing, which that's been something. Back to your other question that I learned a lot from is like that just loves to play music, and he's in his 50s now, I think, maybe even close to 60, and like Guns N' Roses plays for like over 3 hours, and before it, like they sound check for an hour and a half. He's still like he just plays guitar all day, and like to have that passion for music still at that point in your life, I mean that's incredible. Um, I mean, I think Keith Richards is just a fucking rock star, and one of the greatest guitar riff writers of all time. Paul McCartney is my favorite, like musician, songwriter of all time. So like again, another guy who's like still going out there and fucking playing 2.5 hour, three shows. It's incredible that these guys still love music that much that they want to go out there and do that because touring's hard, man. You got to love it if you're gonna go out and do it.
Particularly when it's, yeah, I mean, at their age, where you would imagine they just want to be sitting down and putting their feet up, the fact that they're still doing it for that length, like it is really frustrating to go to a show and they're just absolutely taking the piss with the amount of time that they're on stage. Like a 3 hour show is a rarity and a good thing.
Yeah,
Hmm. People give Taylor shit. People might give Taylor Swift shit, but she's doing 3 hour shows every night.
yeah, I know. It's fucking impressive. Like
Ah,
I can't fault her. She's figured it out, man.
yeah.
She's got the stadium act down.
Apparently, she actually had real trees rising out of the stage at one point. I
Are you
haven't seen.
serious? Wow, that's so
Yeah.
next level. Crazy.
Um. Very broad question, but how have you seen rock music changing in the last decade?
I think there's been more of I don't want to say throwback, but like people remembering that there's like I think rock music got very, very, very heavy and very straight, like the way the rhythms are performed. Um, and I think there's kind of been like people wanting to hear it be a little bit more swinging, a little bit looser, like rock and roll was originally. Like I think at a certain point, rock it just became rock. It wasn't rock and roll. Rock. I feel like the roll is like the swing that Chuck Berry had and the Stones had, and all these the guys that actually created rock and roll. So I think that's kind of coming back a little bit. Maybe a little less of the like the super low tuning. I mean, that stuff is still super popular, but at least in what I think is cool, that stuff becoming more popular.
Yeah.
All I can
So,
see is my perspective, man.
well, it would be weird if I was asking you for someone else's.
True.
So let's talk Blues Fest. So is this your first time doing it?
Yeah,
Wow.
supposed to do it in 2020, but
Yeah.
COVID.
Nice. So what are you looking forward to the most?
Uh, I mean, I'm really looking forward to the beaches because, like, we made it. We made two of our records in Byron Bay, so I've spent a lot of time there, and I love going to the beaches there. I'm also looking forward to seeing Infectious Grooves and oh my God, I forgot who Derek Trucks or Tedeschi and Trucks. Really, one of the greatest guitar players out there. So I'd love to see them.